to your phone calls now. And I know I said first-time callers, but I'm glad that Jim from Missouri called in because he's a police officer. He says, and I think he sounded credible, who called in last week about what's already on the news, that they've got hundreds of giant armored vehicles and even tanks from the U.S. Army from Maryland rolling around all over the town. Regular Army, National Guard, all over the country. They've got weird military checkpoints run by the TSA. This is in the news. And I noticed that YouTube's of the interview, because we're also, filming it, got hundreds of thousands of views in different ways of him just being on a few minutes last week. And people were debating, oh, they're making up tanks in St. Louis. Folks, it's all over the local TV there. Oh, this guy isn't a cop. Okay, well, let's just say he's not a cop. They tell people all the time, there will be an event in October, there will be in December. I've seen this for over a decade when they're doing these drills. They want to test and see what police are going to do, what military are going to do. I'm not quite sure why they do that. Well, I mean, I guess I am. It's to see how they react. Look, what we reported last week is now coming out in British news that indeed they're saying they do plan on there being a terror attack. It's Al-Qaeda flying planes into the Olympics. We were telling you that last week. Now it's in BBC, you name it today, but we're still the bad guys for having a whistleblower on talking about it. You see, this is what we're dealing with. So I think the caller is credible. And by the way, the next day, if your station only carries the Sunday show, we opened the phones to military and police and had more police from St. Louis call in and say, yeah, we're told something big's coming, and confirmed what he was saying. And I mean police with radios going off in the background. I mean, you could tell when a cop calls into the show. Incidentally, I got pulled over by a nice police officer Friday going to visit my grandmother, and he was very nice and let me go. Yeah. Anyway, side issue. Let's just go ahead and go to Jim, and then I'm going to go to Queensland, Australia. Daniel up next after that. But Jim... again, the interview got seen by hundreds of thousands, even after millions heard it on the radio show. And the people didn't go look up that there's tanks rolling around in St. Louis. They didn't go look up any of it. Well, I mean, a small portion of them, but still said that nothing's even going on in St. Louis. What do you say to that?
Alex, thanks for having me on, man. It's funny that you say that. I had a list of 4 things I wanted to bring up with you real quick, and the first thing I wanted to say was my interview on your show. I went to the YouTube, looked it up. I was hoping to see a bunch of info warriors talking about coming together and maybe using this information I'm giving them and trying to do something constructive with it, and instead I see a bunch of either government-paid trolls on there saying I'm faking that you put me up to this, or I see a bunch of, people who are awake, but they still don't want to be fully awake, and they want to say, okay, yeah, everything's real, but they're not going to bring down society. So that's great, because I want to talk to those people. I know you want to talk about the health care, but just let me say this, and I'll get off. Alex, those type of people, I can't wait to kick down their door, because when I kick down their door, I know for sure they don't have guns. They don't have weapons, and those are the type of people that every day that I pull over a street patrol, they practically get out the car and get on their hands and knees and beg me not to give them a ticket or take them to jail. And let me tell you something, I'm a good guy, but there's a lot of my brethren that I work with that are just came back from Iraq, that are in secret Masons and all this kind of crap. And let me tell you something, when they kick down your door, they're not going to be like me. They're going to use your wife and your children, and they're going to do things to them that I can't even say on the radio show. So you should just pretend I'm not real. That's fine. But you've been warned, and Alex been saying stuff for 20 years. He's been right, but, we're wackos. But just let me say these other couple things. But
listen, there's a reason they swarmed that video. They are paid trolls. It's admitted that billions with a B. I mean, that's in the Washington, Cass Sunstein. It was in the Washington Post 6 years ago that Bush paid, what was it, $19 billion in 1 year for fake news and fake blogs. I mean, they were paying radio hosts $250,000 apiece just to have federal takeover of schools with the No Child Left Behind, Armstrong, Williams, all of it. So
finish saying this, and I'll get off.
Yeah,
Alex.
go ahead.
I know you're busy. I just want to finish up the story because I kind of broke down last time, and I'm sorry I did that. But
no, you got the floor. Tell folks what's going on with the tanks right now. Tell folks what you've been hearing.
the neighborhood that I'm specifically I've been practicing in. I don't know if you know this, but there's two big corporations in St. Louis, and I think they run St. Louis. And a lot of the people that occupy this neighborhood work at these corporations.
Monsanto?
And Anheuser-Busch. Monsanto and Anheuser-Busch. And these executives work there. And not only, listen to this, I've been told that these neighborhoods that I'll be guarding, they probably won't even be occupied when this collapse because these people we already shipped to a secure location. I think it's underground in the Merrimack Caverns, but hey, I'm just probably a conspiracy nut. The last thing, I just want to move to another point because the drill ended Friday. They're not doing that anymore, but the tanks are still here, people. Alan Watt, I think he should be on once a week, maybe, I mean, just maybe for 2 segments. People need to hear you and Alan Watt go at it. I love your banter.
No, I hear you, but listen, the reason so many trolls, it was still about only 20%. I mean, because you'll see the votes, 95% agree with us on, say, a YouTube, but then you'll see all the comments attacking us because they're paid. We have tracked their IP addresses on InfoWars because we can go in and, I mean, they don't even hide that it's out of big corporations, Department of Defense, foreign governments. I mean, it's come out that if you criticize Katrina, the Department of Defense would put 100 bloggers, military, on there attacking your site, including with cyber attacks. So again, we're not attacking the military, we're attacking the fact that it's being used domestically like this. They're scared of your phone call. That's why they were swarming and attacking that, to make you feel like, because they're force multipliers, that you're alone. It's like Tokyo Rose. They would have the Japanese outnumbered 10-1, buried alive, and they'd still be playing Tokyo Rose, saying the Marines had lost and had failed. I mean, Japan had A-bombs dropped on it, and Tokyo Rose was saying that that the U.S. was losing. So don't let the fact that the trolls squeak and squawk and do all of that is nothing. But let me just get an update before we go to Australia here. Did you learn anything else? Because again, just to recap, what did they say was going to happen in October?
In October, the only thing I know is that there's going to be some type of event, and I don't know if the event's going to be in St. Louis or maybe it's going to be some kind of global event that's going to require us to patrol these neighborhoods, and with the neighborhoods, we're going to have air and ground support in conjunction with the local military here. There's something called Fort. There's a real close Army fort really close to us that's huge, and that they can practice driving these tanks down the streets, and they don't need to practice driving down these urban these urban streets.
Absolutely, sir. We posted under your video the Secretary of the Army saying they're going to put regular combat troops in every city to pull triggers on citizens, and still people won't click the link. They say we're lying. They're delusional.
To do that. That's why I said this country's dead, Alex, and I'm sorry to say that, but I mean, you try to tell people this information, and even the people that are awake, I mean, they want to think I'm fake. People, I'm not fake. I mean, if I could give my badge number out, I would.
It's
but
okay, sir. Listen, we understand. I know you're frustrated. It's all right, okay? They'll believe you later. God bless, and I appreciate it. Now, I've seen this before with police and military, though, and call back anytime, Jim. Good to hear from you. I've seen this over and over again. They are getting ready probably to have a war going with Syria and Iran by then. I mean, it's admittedly on the front burner. May happen, may not happen.